Welcome, and thank you for joining us today on this session. We're going to be talking, actually, this morning we decided that we're not going to be talking much. We're going to be showing actually how this thing works. My name is Hanen Garcia. I'm Global Telco Solutions Manager at Red Hat. And with me today we have John. I will try to do it properly. Walicki from IBM, and Rakesh Dodeja from Intel. Thank you guys for sharing the stage with me today. So one of the things that we're going to be doing today, so we're going to be talking about, of course, manufacturing, but most of it is we wanted to show you how open source technology can allow and can help into reducing downtime. We're going to be actually showcasing two demos. One where actually everything is running right here, and that is what Rakesh have, enabling the FIDO protocol. And the other demo is going to be actually a hybrid demo, where we have, of course, the pieces are here on-prem, and the other parts are completely on the cloud. So, as I say, we won't want to talk too much about manufacturing. I think we have a very good session this morning. I think I see Claudia as well from Emerson that's doing great work in explaining how the industry is transforming. And we have seen that. We're seeing that, Industry 4.0 is about transforming the operations, digitalization of services and infrastructure. OT is transforming at the same time that IT is transforming. Everything is going to be coming as well software-based, more and more software in the operations. We're seeing the AI models coming in as well into the picture, closed loops and all these kind of things.
And iterations on those AI models, not just one and done. I think we're finding that many customers are you train a model and then you improve upon the model and you continue this continuous loop of AI model management that becomes really important. So it's not just deploying a device to the edge and walking away for weeks and months. You have to actually actively manage that device and refresh it with new AI models and make sure that the device itself is performing correctly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, as you know, most of the things that's because it's software and hardware, things breaks. And that goes downtime. Of course, there is a cost to all of that. There is a quite good feature there, about $20,000 per minute on automobile when the chain stop. We want not to stop for a long time, so we don't have that much money to spend today in the demo. But we're going to show how we can actually, with those two projects, open source project, we can actually get to reduce that time. Of course, we're not going to do unplanned downtime. We're going to do actually a planned downtime. We're going to be upgrading one of the demo in live. Okay. Maybe we can move on.
Sure.
Into the two open source projects that I was mentioning. We have the FIDO, and I think Rakesh is going to help out going through that.
Yes. So thanks, Hanen. I'm going to briefly talk about the whole flow of FIDO device onboarding, and while we are going to do the rest of the talk, I'm going to kick off the demo process, right? If you see on the left side is how a device can be enabled with FIDO, FIDO device onboarding, FDO, we call it FDO. And on the right side, the device has moved through the supply chain, and the owner then decides what he wants to deploy on the device, what operating system, what manageability services, what orchestration services, and even if he wants to repurpose the device, all of that is possible with FDO, right? So I'm going to kick this off, and you probably won't see much because and in the factory, what we have configured, I have a server here which offers the ability to init a device with FDO, right? And it'll pixie boot and run the DI protocol and initialize it. It'll basically use the hardware root of trust on the device and create a credential which is stored on the device, and an ownership voucher, which is basically a logical deed of ownership, which moves through the supply chain along with the device, right? Every owner in the supply chain acquires ownership and then transfers the ownership to the next entity in the supply chain. The final owner decides, what do I want to do with the device? And that's where the one which is register 2, which is registering the ownership voucher into a rendezvous service, and so that when the device is powered on, using the credentials, it finds out who registers the ownership voucher because it calls the rendezvous service. That's the only thing it can do at manufacturing, right? So it powers on, connects to the rendezvous service, and finds out who's the owner, gets redirected in step 4, connects to the owner, and then the owner says, okay, deploy this on the device. And we have, in fact, the FIDO spec doesn't talk about bare metal onboarding. What we are going to show you is the extension of the FIDO spec by actually using it to install the operating system. We are actually going to deploy RHEL for Edge operating system here, and it's pre-configured to deploy the containers pods for microshift. Microshift is something new, and Hanen will talk about it. And then on top of it, we'll add a registry, and we'll add a agent for the open horizon, right? And then finally, with zero touch, a Nginx application will be deployed, right? So all of that will happen. So I'm going to kick it off. It's already happening, but at the end, we'll show the whole process.
Thank you, Rakesh. And well, again, I think, I don't know, is the whole audience is acquainted with FDO. It's a framework that actually provide a secure device onboarding, and sometimes we call it provisioning, bringing a device from the factory and actually put it on place. There is a lot of benefits. Well, one of the things is FDO is open. Is managed, the FIDO Alliance is the one who is actually doing the specification for it. And we have as well the Secure Device on Board project, part of the Linux Foundation, that we're going to be as well be renamed as FDO Device on Board as from next year as well. So this is two projects that actually to follow into how the specification get done and how things can get done on the open source as well. As I mentioned, it's about onboarding and actually giving that notion of zero touch. Customer, actually the operator in the factory just need to set the new device and power on, and everything is going to happen on the back end. And I think John is going to be showing that in a couple of minutes. It's fast, it's secure, it's cloud independent. It's run, as I mentioned, we have 2 demos. One is completely hybrid, the other one is completely on-prem. Yeah, I think...
Let's do it. Yeah. So before we get started with the demos, I wanted to introduce Open Horizon. So it's a LF Edge project. Open Horizon is an open source project. It manages device service containers. It can, in addition to managing those containers, it can also manage the AI models and the AI assets on the edge device. So it's all about autonomous management. Zero touch types of approaches. We set policies in the cloud, and those policies then get determined on what workloads would be running at the appropriate edge devices. And so you can set the policies to deploy AI models and those containers, sometimes in conjunction, sometimes separately, becomes very powerful. So we talk about it from an application perspective and a container perspective. It's all policy driven. All right, and we know that we can scale this to tens of thousands of nodes for some of our customers dispersed in very large geographic environments. So Open Horizon consists of a management hub, lives in the cloud someplace. The IBM version of it runs on top of OpenShift. You can deploy it to a MEC edge, an edge cluster, so all of the Kubernetes environments, and we're going to show you it running on Microshift today. Thank you to Rakesh. And then I'm going to show it running on an edge device. All right, so I want to give you, so we're going to start some of the demos. Rakesh has kicked off his. I'm going to introduce you to mine. And so how this is going to work, we've got a camera, phone, Android, Samsung device, Xcover Pro, industrialized, hardened, factory class phone. It happens to be running containers. I'll introduce you to that in a moment. We're going to imagine the table up front is a conveyor belt, and I'm going to be looking at electronic parts. And I want to do AI models, so I'm going to do object detection, determining if the appropriate wires are attached in the right places. So I've got an AI model that's going to detect, I think I can show you a picture of that. So we've got an AI model that is going to look for the connectors and whether the wires are connected in the appropriate spot. And you show you that here. If I scroll down. And sometimes it's hard to scroll on the phone here. Oh, I don't have to scroll, sorry. So what we're gonna do, so now we know that I could take a picture, and I just took a new picture, so the camera on the phone's running a container. I'm gonna send that to Maximo Visual Inspection for object detection, and I'm gonna get back how many objects it found and whether wires were connected or not on my device. But what we wanna do is we want to deploy another device to our manufacturing line. And I called up my manufacturer and I said, please send me a device. Here's the specs I want it to have. And I've got an SDO voucher. So here's my device. It has an SDO voucher on it. It will power up. It's already running Linux. It's going to start. It'll configure itself into the appropriate management hub and start the workload that I'm showing you here. So there's the device. I've got two things. I'm going to plug it in to the Ethernet. And I'm going to plug it into the power. And so the planned upgrade here, and if I press the reset button, hopefully it's powering up. All right, so now this is the tricky part of us watching the demo power up. Let's go do that together. And we're just going to watch. So now we're going to wait for there's the device. It's not yet connected. Hopefully I remember my password.
And is the god of demos are good?
Yeah, it does. So it is powering up. I'm hoping it's powering up. I always press the button for not the right amount of time. We'll give it like 30 seconds.
So and how is it?
It's up. There it is. All right. So now the device is up. I'm going to go shell to it so we can watch what's happening on the edge device. Normally, it's a headless device. No one really cares, but it will come up.
My device is headed, so you can see the OS is getting installed here.
All right, I'll just clear that. And so we're running Linux, and what I'm going to want to watch now. So previously I generated a voucher. It's not yet registered. You'll notice it says null here, so it has no organizational configuration yet, right? So we're going to go and watch one of the logs here. Let's go watch our log. And what you'll notice, let's see if I can narrate here. It is now connecting to, so it says down at the very bottom, the SDO voucher told it to go contact the Open Horizon Management Hub. It's now pulling down the appropriate software for that management hub. It looks like it just finished. It's now doing a registration. Now that device is being registered. Let's jump up to the cloud and we can actually see what happens in the cloud. So in the cloud, I've got Open Horizon and the IBM Edge Application Manager. We've got ourselves a set of nodes, a set of service containers, and the policies that we want to control those service containers and where they should be deployed to. So one of my nodes is here, but I'll just mention that your clusters are powering up, right? We're going to start to see some.
5 previous nodes clusters are there. The 6th one is coming up.
All right, so we're going to see a 6th edge cluster appear into our Open Horizon Management Hub. Let's go jump into our node here. And you'll notice that I've got this voucher. I registered it yesterday, so it's not yet appeared yet. In our log file, hopefully. I timed it perfectly. Thank you for that. You'll notice that now the top one here is now active a few seconds ago. So that means my AI models are going to be deployed. Let's go drive into that particular node. And you'll see that I have a set of policies and properties here. So I want to deploy the MVI Edge model. Sorry, I made it too big. And I'm going to deploy my application. Let's go see what we got going on in our device. Looks like we're finished. And if I do a Horizon node list, I've got it registered into our proof of concept org. And if I do an Horizon agreement, so I'm going to form an agreement, and it looks like it's now starting to download the MVI Edge container. That's where I've got PyTorch and TensorFlow, and it's a rather big container. So that'll take a moment to deploy. I'll start that container. And so while that's running, we're going to take control of the camera, and we're going to use that same app I showed you running on the phone will now run on the Edge device. And that should appear here. And we'll take a picture in a moment, and I'll show you that live. But we are going to need to finish deploying our workload. How's yours doing?
Yeah, so in fact, the node has been installed with RHEL for Edge. Microshift containers are getting, pods are getting deployed. If you want to quickly show that.
Yeah, let's go show it. We're going to give you a minute, so I have to download a pretty big container here.
Yeah, so same thing. They're getting installed here. And I'm going to.
Our expert producer is going to flip our device
right
there.
There you can see, I just gave the command here. It's about 2 minutes ago it started. The containers are getting created and others are pending. It'll take about 6 minutes. This is downloading the containers from your OpenShift, right? And then bring them up. So it'll take about 5 to 6 minutes to come up. And then I put some delays so that make sure that this step is over and then the next step starts. So we'll see that. We'll come back to this and back to you.
Okay.
So we basically went the extra mile. It's not just deploying the devices. We are deploying actually an operating
AI
system.
workloads, yes.
OS plus the Microshift services, right? The infrastructure for Microshift, which basically makes this node into a cluster. It shows up as a cluster on Edge Application Manager, right? And then on the cluster, you'll see, you saw the 8 containers, 8 pods. A registry pod will be deployed so that you can have local registry and you can push the applications and all of that. The Open Horizon agent is also a pod. It's pushed into the registry and then deployed from there. And when that comes up, now you're ready to actually onboard that to the Edge Application Manager. And then from there, you set a policy and the workload gets deployed. So all of that happens with zero touch. That's the key part.
Right.
FDO does the magic under the hood.
Let's go see. Because one of my containers didn't start. I don't know why. But what you can see is, so if I were to do, I'll do it clear so you can see at the top of the list. So this device did not have anything on it initially. We were able to pull down from a container registry service in my case, the MVI Edge object detection workload. Works for AMD and also for ARM64. All right, we see it stopped here, so that means my second container is going to start in a moment. And I'm going to end with a demo of it running. How's yours doing? Almost there? I see container creating.
5 of them are running. 3 more are on the way. And they are still initializing.
We're trying to form agreements there. So what's interesting about Open Horizon is it matches the policy with the containers. So you have a container and a set of attributes in each container, and then you have policies that determine where should I deploy it. And I can show you up here in the cloud. That's a great question. So you see that particular node has a set of node properties that matches over on the services set of cards. I've got the MVI Edge, DLE Android, and then my app, which is a little app which can take pictures and zoom the camera and draw little bounding boxes. And I matched that with a policy for, in my case, this one. And the policy is MVI Edge is equal to node red WRT. All right, let's go see what we got going here on my node. And I think I've got my phone, I've got the brand new SDO device, and both workloads are now running, so that's great. Let's go jump up, and just to show you, let's go take a picture. There's a brand new picture, and I'm going to, let's go see what models I've got loaded. That's great. Let's go and take another picture. That was a pretty good detection there. That one, let's see, I've got two are wired connected. This one, 2 of them are connected, so we're still getting all our visual inspection is correct. And you know what, I really need to zoom in and make sure that it's working correctly, or I can zoom out and I can go take a picture, and oops, I jumped too quickly. So let's go turn to yours. So that's the live demo. How about that? Can I get a real applause for my demo?
For John.
And now let's go switch to Rakesh, because he's been powering up his Microshift cluster. Let's talk about Microshift for a minute.
Yeah, well, I can do that. So one of the things that we have been doing, and we announced that a couple of weeks ago for KubeCon, is basically we are putting together capabilities with RHEL4Edge and providing the Kubernetes API for very small devices. And this is what we are coming it. And basically, this is what we are showing you there. So that Rakesh is doing right now is actually using the FDO, the FIDO device on board to actually bring a device with RHEL4Edge and the Kubernetes API. So basically, that device you can see it as it was a cluster, a Kubernetes cluster, and you can deploy using the Kubernetes API. You can actually deploy the workloads, and basically, this is what Open Horizon
as an edge cluster operator gets installed. And then, so we're actually running a set of kube control commands, OC, get pods, describe, apply, pulling that set of operators in. Can we show that? I think we see that in the very top there. And then we've set a policy so that once the Open Horizon Edge operator is installed, it will then pull in new operators and start the AgentX web server.
You must be wondering, what is this mesh center? So this is an open source, capability to remotely access devices. So also added a mesh agent onto this RHEL4Edge, right? So you can actually remotely on the screen you can go and see. Otherwise, you have to see here somewhere. Right? And now connect to this device. This is the new device, and you can see just on this blip there, that's the time it has been online. And I'm going to connect to it.
Terminal.
Right. Then say,
And we're going to take questions in just a moment. We're going to talk about what's next.
Yeah. So.
Is it working? I think it is. That's great.
yeah, it's doing.
And perhaps you can show as well that those devices from Rakesh as well registered on the
You can take it.
Yeah, I'll
Open
take it
Horizon
back.
in the cloud.
Yeah, let's do that, and I'll turn back to the slides.
Yeah.
So just to show you now, let's go back to our, I'll back up one, and you'll notice that the nodes, remember there were 5, we should see a 6th one as
It is still
oh, it's still going?
restarting the registry.
And so we'll see here a 6th one appear. So while that's still running, let's go back to our slides.
Yeah, you can talk about the
And-
next steps and
Hanen, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, no problem. Well, I can, yeah, so one of the things is that while we are doing this, and there is a great effort that is being done on the different projects. So on the FIDO Alliance, on the SDO and the Open Horizon, there is still work to be done. One of the things on the FIDO is actually the interoperability, making sure that all the pieces work together. And this is a strength of multiple, collaboration. You know what open source collaboration is, right? And trying to get that done right, and this is what we want to achieve. And the other part is the hardware ability. So making sure that there's hardware out there that support the FIDO device onboarding for not only manufacturing, for basically all kind of industries.
Great. And then I'll just talk, we've got a couple of course, new things coming in Open Horizon. So today we support SDO. 1Q next year we'll support the FDO protocol, working with Intel and Red Hat. And then you saw me running containers on Android. You'll see some interesting things in IBM's partnership with Samsung. We're going to bring Android container workloads to the edge for mobile edge use cases. Industrial mobile edge use cases, right? So hardened phones as opposed to consumer class devices. And then some work around automated agent upgrades. So pretty exciting things coming in the open source world for Open Horizon, SDO, and LF Edge. So thank you all for attending. We'll do some Q&A if we've got 3-4 minutes. We're happy to entertain some questions.
Yep. Does anybody have a question?
Right, so the question is, how will the FDO voucher flow from the device manager through the telco use cases to the edge points? And so I think that FDO defines a set of protocols.
Yes, the protocols are transport agnostic, right? You can run them on TCP/IP, network connectivity, or even a transport which is the lower level for the telco networks. So it is still, it's just messages. These are messages with blobs. You send a blob along with the message. It is encrypted and all of that, and you don't care about the transport. You could use HTTP, HTTPS, any other, Bluetooth, or so. The idea is that the fundamental connectivity should be there. Once it is there, then this messaging back and forth between the various services. DI is device init. So device init can be done at the manufacturing, which I did in the first part, and then we do the registration of the ownership voucher using the. Actually, now this is.
No, I'm going to show that I just saw it finish.
Yeah, so you should be able. No, it's just still finishing. You should see it happening. The container is getting deployed. The pod is getting deployed. Will come. Yeah. So the expectation is that if you are going to use a not wired network, you can use Wi-Fi. In fact, our own internal Intel, we want to use Wi-Fi to onboard all the IoT devices in the fab, right? And then in the field for different use cases, they may use a 5G, 4G, 5G LTE network. So you probably expect a SIM or whatever needs to be activated before FDO can happen.
Right.
That might be Cat-M1 devices or narrowband devices in the manufacturing, and you can run through the FIDO towards the transport.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I think we're at the end of our time.
Yeah, I think we're done. Well, thank you very much for attending the session today, and we're going to be here the rest of the day as well.